Hello everybody, my name is Dion Borg. I'm the General Manager for CCLAS based here in the Data Mine office in Brisbane. Today's webinar we're going to be discussing the sample storage module in our CCLAS Velox system. So Velox means rapid in Latin, and it is our low-cost rapid deployment model. So essentially, from experience that we have with our customers through various commodities, we understand what our customers need. So the Velox model is essentially a pre-configured model that allows us to quickly deploy CCLAS at a lower cost. So the sample storage comes as part of Velox, and we're going to discuss that today. So before we begin, I just thought I'd give you an overview of DataMine as a company. So we're a global software company, and we have 26 offices around the world. In terms of employees, all the technical professionals that we do have essentially do have real world experience working in the mining environment. So my background is I actually used to be a chemist using CCLAS as a customer as well. So a lot of our CCLAS consultants do have that background chemistry information. And that's really important because it's important to understand how laboratories work if you're able to configure the software to suit that environment. Then obviously we've got a whole heap of developers developing our software throughout the world. And from a CCLAS point of view, we've got our CCLAS EL development team in Australia, based in Adelaide, and our CCLAS 6 team is based in Kuala Lumpur. So you can see here from 2015 through to 2020, we certainly increased a lot of staff by acquiring the Intelligent Mining Solutions software suite. So obviously DataMine is part of a larger company called Constellation Software, which is listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. So we've got 16,000 employees worldwide and 400 software portfolio companies. So just a bit of a background to everybody about this webinar. By default, everyone is muted on the session. I plan to do about a 25-minute webinar to show you the various aspects of the sample storage model, and I always leave about 5 minutes at the end for you to ask any questions. So if you have any questions, you can click on the raise hand icon, and then you'll be able to type in a question, and then anyone else in the webinar can actually see that question as well. Okay, so the agenda for today, we will be looking at configuring the sample tracking module, which is the standard application for CCLAS. So I'm going to show you how to configure location types, locations, physical types, and actions. And then we're going to move on to actually creating a box label. So I'm also going to show you the zebra label designer that we do use to create our box label for the Velox model. Then I'll show you how we store boxes throughout the laboratory, so moving them between locations, also locating boxes in the laboratory, and then disposing of those boxes as well when those samples need to be thrown away. Then we'll also look at using RFIDs, so really looking at some technology that we can use to extend this functionality for laboratory. So really extending that chain of custody tracking for samples in the laboratory. So obviously CCLAS is a part of the intelligent mining software solution. So it's our LIMS product. We also have Mindscape, which is our geological modeling software for coal and metal ferrous deposits. We have Mine Market, which is our enterprise solution for inventory, logistics, and marketing. And then we also have Production Accounting, which is our metal accounting system for mining and mineral processing. So this slide shows you that yes, CCLAS EL as a product, or CCLAS, I guess as a product, has been around for many years. You're looking at 30 plus years. We've got 350 sites around the world, 75 countries, and 6,000 users. So it's a very mature product, CCLAS EL now, and that's really important from a user point of view, because you want to have fast, reliable software that you don't have any issues with, and it's easy just for you to get on with your job. Now, we don't show you these figures and statistics to impress you, but it's really just to impress upon you the importance of selecting a LIMS provider that you can trust. You know that we have been around for the long term and will continue to be here in the future. Here's a slide of a snapshot of number of many of our customers. I'm sure many of you will recognize those brands, and these are the people that we've been doing business with for some time. So obviously the benefits of having a LIMS system is really about spending less time to do the various processes in your laboratory. So if we look at the bars on this graph here, from based on our customers' experience on several commodities across the world, if we are to look at job registration, we can see there's approximately a 25% saving in using CCLAS as compared to not using, to essentially using no LIMS system or a spreadsheet. If we look at data entry, there's a 40% time saving there. Validation, about a 43% time saving. Reporting, a 48% time saving, and then a 55%, over 55% time saving for invoicing. So essentially, the more time you save, the faster your samples will be processed correctly. And that's really important, because you can process your samples, but it's also important to process them correctly and have the right quality on your results. So obviously, the higher productivity you have, the more revenue and the lower costs that you'll have in your laboratory. So now we'll move to the product demonstration. So we will just swap over now to CCLAS. Okay, so I have the Velox model open here now, and what I'm going to show you is the sample tracking model. So this is the core CCLAS application that we have for sample tracking. So the first thing that you need to do is configure a location type. So you click on location type, click on new, and in this example, I'm going to say we're going to configure a location type called warehouse. You can see we've got a number configured already. So these could be, different location types around your laboratory as well. So as an example, we're just going to use warehouse as this one example, and we can type in here warehouse. And if there's, you can see that there's a number of user fields here allowed. So if there's any other extra information that you want to store against this location type, you can. Then when we move to the actual locations, so these are the physical locations around your laboratory or company that you want to store those samples. So for this example, we're going to say this is warehouse number 1. So we want to assign this to a location type, which is warehouse, and then we can provide a description for that, And again, we have user fields here that you can fill in if you need to store extra information. Once we've created that location type, we can create a physical type. So you can see that we've already created a physical type called solid, but if you wanted to track your vehicle physical type, so say you were storing liquids, you could also enter in this information to donate, what physical types of samples that you had there. And then once you've stored your physical type, you want to have a look at your action codes. So you can see here we've got a number of different action codes already stored. So this 30, 90, and 365 days to dispose of those samples after they've reached that point. We've got an action code for batching, set to dispose after these samples have expired, any finalising and any no actions or return to client. So for this particular example, I'm just going to create one for 60 days. And we're going to, as we've said with the other one, say dispose after 2 months, and the action days will obviously be 60 days. Okay, so that's how you configure the standard module. Now, obviously, using the standard application, you can go in and containerize your samples and store them in different locations. But what we've done to make it a lot easier, we've actually created a customized application in the Velox model to make this process a lot simpler for our customers. So now I'm going to show you the custom application that we've got called sample storage. So the first process that we would want to look at is we want to box our samples up so we can track them and move them around our laboratory. So you can see here we have a number of box sizes here, and they can be configured. And just to show you that, that is configured in staff under CCLAS Manager and user global settings, and you can see here that we've got these box sizes listed. So that's configurable, and you can change that to however many that you like. And you can also see that we've got a box labeled template already defined, and we'll get to the box label template in a second. So now flicking back to the box size, I'm going to choose a box size of 10. Now, if I choose this job and I say I'm going to box all these samples, obviously you can choose to box a certain amount of samples out of different jobs and combine them together. But just for an ease of this scenario example, I'm going to box all these samples out of this job together. So you can see here now that because we have a total samples in this job of 29, it has divided those into 3 different boxes, okay? So then from here, when I click on create, it will go ahead and then create those box labels and then print them out. So obviously, we don't have a zebra label printer attached here, but for this scenario, I can just show you this is the zebra label designer for the box label. So essentially, it would print out the job number, the box number, what the client order number, project, what the name of the first sample was, the name of the last sample, the date it was recorded, and a barcode of the job dash box number. Okay, and we'll get to why that is useful previously. Now, we do at DataMine recommend using Zebra printers. That's what we configured our Velox model to print to. Purely because in our experience, they've been the simplest printers to interface to. they work consistently, and again, in laboratories you need reliable equipment that works all the time and that you don't have issues with. So yes, we can configure to other different types of label printers, but in our experience, again, the Zebra label printers are the best. And you can see with this label designer, it's much easier to modify your labels if you do need to do that in the future. Okay, so that's creating your box label. So now we're going to go to the next step of storing or moving around our box labels. So you can see that we've got those 3 box labels that we have just configured, and in this scenario for the Velox model, they move straight into the action called batch, and what that allows the users to do is then batch those samples straight away. But you could choose to automate that process and go to no action, and then only allow users to batch samples once someone has marked that as an action for batch. Okay. So obviously, once your samples have been batched and analyzed, you probably want to then move them to a storage location. So what we can do manually is obviously select we can select a location here, and we can move it from the geochem environment to the warehouse. And in the warehouse, we might say that we only want to store these for 30 days. Okay. Once I've changed those, I click on store. And then if I have a look in the warehouse, there is our box stored in that location. Okay. Now, if we were to another easier way to do it, if you actually had a barcode scanner attached to CCLAS, in this field, if you were to scan that barcode, so if we were to scan the second box, as soon as I scan that barcode label, it would input this box straight away. And then on enter, it would then re-highlight where that box is located. And then again, I could manually select the location, and maybe on this one, I might want to store this one in storeroom 1, and we want to store these for 60 days this time, and we click on store. Okay, so if we go to storeroom 1, there is the second box of that job. Okay, so now another thing that this application allows you to do, what if you don't know where your samples are located in the laboratory? So what we can do is, if I were to minimize all these screens here, if I was to clear this out and I say I'm looking for a particular job, but I don't know where the box is located in the laboratory, I can type in a job number, JB027613, and when I click on enter, it will show me those different box numbers. So then if I double click on that box, it will then re-highlight and show me, hey, that box number 3 of that job number is sitting in storeroom 1. So say I needed to go and reanalyze some of those samples, I know where it's located. I can go into the storeroom, pull out the samples that I need, and then go and reanalyze them again. Or, if you, and obviously we can also push them back to, the geochem a place or wherever you wanted to store them in your laboratory, and then push them back to the storeroom once those samples, you've finished analyzing those samples. And then further to that, after that 30-day action has expired, CCLAS can create a report and compare the 30 days against this date stored, and then warn you when those samples need to be disposed of. So then you can come into the sample storage module, look at these, look at this job and say, okay, I want to throw these samples out. You go and throw the samples out, and you then click on dispose, and you can see now it's disappeared from that warehouse 1 location. Okay, and we also have an option here to reprint a box label if it gets destroyed or whatever. Okay, so that is the overview of how to move samples around the laboratory manually and with some scanning. So now I want to just show you another slide. Just bear with me while we adjust this. Another slide for using RFID scanners to automate this process even further. So we've actually had some laboratories ask us, can we use RFIDs with CCLAS to help automate even further the movement of samples or boxes through a laboratory? And the answer is obviously yes. So for those of you not aware, RFID stands for radio frequency identification. So it's like that chip that you have on your bank card. So the Zebra, you can actually get labels that actually have a chip on them, and you can print labels on them. So in this example here, if you have a look above the stream, you can see that there's this antenna. So if you can imagine this guy here, it has a trolley of boxes of samples that he's moving to a different room in the laboratory. As he passes under this antenna, it would then scan all those boxes, and then CCLAS could automatically pick up that location and automatically change that in the sample storage module. Okay, so that's something to think about for those people that currently have CCLAS. That's a way to really automate that process. And obviously then here's an example from the Zebra label website of having those RFID labels and some of the the ranges of those. So that's shows you what you can really do with CCLAS to extend that that functionality even further. Okay, so if you are a current customer and you do have some more questions about the sample storage module, please send us an email at support.cclas@dataminesoftware.com. Or if you are interested in implementing a LIMS system for your laboratory and you would like to see a demo of our Velox model, please do send us an email to sales@dataminesoftware.com. So we do have 2 more webinar left in this series of presentations. Next Thursday, I will be presenting a session on our laboratory maintenance module, and then Dave Armstrong will be presenting a webinar about tracking your instrument calibrations the Thursday after that. And then further to this, we'll be actually producing a series of back to basic videos for our customer base, which will describe how to use a lot of our standard modules in CCLAS. So all our customers will see an email towards the end of this month so that you can get access to that. So I'd like to thank everyone for your time and attention, and we can finish the webinar here. Thank you very much.